Hey, folks, I'll give it a few minutes for folks to join, but.
Quick sound check. Can you hear me? Excellent.
I can hear you.
Here we are.
Obviously, I've got the wrong camera because it looks like I'm not in the office.
Are we recording now? Yes.
I think we're always recording whenever
Okay.
we join.
Okay, cool. Okay, I just I'm just I don't want to make casually dox you, Rian.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think it's time-based because I definitely never do anything particular about it.
Yeah, I hopped on it earlier on and I think it was recording because the UTC +1 business.
I think it's an auto record the moment somebody comes into the room and starts recording. Ben.
Hey. Got to turn speakers on. Do we have anything on the agenda today?
I've proffered a demo of some work that I've been doing to explain the mysterious appearance of a weird pull request that I've submitted to the GitHub client. So so just to socialize the work that I've done and just explain that where I'm at and just give a little bit of background. It may not be of huge interest to SIG testing, but it's just kind of a show and tell, really.
I will warn you that looking around this call today, we mostly don't have the folks that are like active on Prow, but
yeah,
it sounds cool. So
yeah, I'm also happy to point those folks back to these notes or stuff like that. So
yeah, so if you're up for it, I'll do a short presentation, and if you're not, that we can just share the links and you can take a look in your own time.
Yeah, I guess just before that, I want to call out if there's anybody who is new here and wants to give a brief introduction for themselves, please feel free to unmute and do so. Otherwise, we can move on to the agenda, but I'll leave it a bit.
Hi, my name is Brady. I'm new. I want to try to get involved however I can. I work at Red Hat. I'm a quality engineer at Red Hat, but this isn't really based any work-based. This is going to be mostly personal stuff. I work on testing OpenShift and RHEL with different products of Red Hats. And we're looking at using Prow a lot more. So I definitely want to learn more. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome and awesome to hear. Yeah, as mentioned, I think we don't really have a lot of Prow folks in this call, but I'm also on the same team with a bunch of those folks. So, and they do definitely check the Slack channel.
Cool.
All right. Great to hear. Anybody else? Or with that, we can probably turn it over to Robert. Cool. All right, take it away.
Okay, cool. So I'll just can I share my screen?
Let me figure that out real quick.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll also drop a link into the chat here if anyone wants to.
Okay, I think you should be able to now.
Okay, give it a go again. Excellent screen. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just give myself a. Can everyone see that?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So I just give myself a sort of a brief introduction. My name is Robert Kilty. I'm coming from Dublin, Ireland. I've worked on SIG release for a few releases back. I have recently been working with II, and Hippie asked me to look at doing some work to basically launch Prow plugins from a GitHub action. So this has been a piece of proof of concept work that I've been working on for the past few months. And there are some people who are interested in this. And this has culminated in me submitting a small PR to add a flag to indicate to a GitHub client that's used by Proud to say, hi, I'm starting a GitHub client, and I am aware that I am being launched from a GitHub action. So that is a bit weird for, I presume, the people of TestInfra based on comments that I've received. So I just want to describe the story of how we got here and what the rationale for this work is, and just explain the POC that I'm working on. So for those who are new here, Prow is the CI solution for and so much more for the Kubernetes project. And there is a component within Prow called Hook. And what Hook does is it listens to events that are emitted by GitHub and reacts to those events. And the reason Hook exists is to launch a set of plugins. At a very, very high level, the job of those plugins that are run by Hook is to coordinate all of the incoming changes across a wide range of repos in order to do things like maybe automatically label the size of an incoming PR. And it's a lot of workflow support and automation to corral changes as they come into the Kubernetes project. Now, within the wider CNCF landscape, there are a lot of other incoming projects that are separate from Kubernetes, but in the cloud native space. The thinking behind allowing those smaller projects that will be resource constrained in terms of human resources and maybe also infra resources, the idea of launching allowing Prow plugins to be launched from a GitHub action is to allow those smaller projects to leverage the workflow goodness provided by Prow plugins in the context of not involving themselves with an actual Prow deployment of their own or interacting with the centralized Prow deployment. So that's the rationale that was given to me, and they said, Rob, can you just go and see if you can kick off, have a go at kicking off Prow plugins launched from a GitHub action. So I went to go and do that, and in a nutshell, it is possible to do. It's possible to create a custom GitHub action, and the way this works at runtime is that you create a container. You make it comply with what the expectations of GitHub are in relation to how that container will behave. And then when you've done that, you effectively have a custom GitHub action. So what I have done is so what I've done here is essentially I've created a Golang application that kind of mirrors how Hook behaves, but it is a little bit different because the runtime is different. And like Hook, this Prow GitHub action container spins up a default set of Prow plugins, and its life cycle is a little bit different insofar as it is kicked off by a GitHub action, and then it dies at the end when it processes the events that kicked off that GitHub action. So it has a much shorter life cycle because Hook runs as a long-running service, but essentially, if you know Hook, you know PGA, this application that I've developed. There is one runtime difference that has resulted in me submitting this PR upstream, and the one runtime difference is that when you kick off when a GitHub action kicks off, it's assigned an Ubuntu runner. So you get an Ubuntu environment for free, a little bit of compute for free, and then you can go about your business. The big difference from an authorization point of view is that the GitHub action grants you an ephemeral GitHub OAuth token. And what this means is for the end user the GitHub Action end user or the project maintainer then doesn't need to worry about maintaining that OAuth token because it's ephemeral, because it only lasts for an hour. But the one limitation that OAuth token has is it doesn't allow a GitHub client to access the /user endpoint in the GitHub API. So the PR that I've submitted adds as an option the field is GitHub Action, and that then when you create your GitHub client, when you create that GitHub client within PGA or anywhere else, you can tell the client, look, I'm being launched from a GitHub Action, and then that flag is then used to guard against accessing the /user endpoint. So that's why that PR has been submitted. I can move quickly to a demo of this, and then I could take questions and comments, and I can leave that sit with people. That's just a little bit of some of the stuff that I spoke to. So I have a PGA sandbox repo, and this mock project repo is meant to simulate a client project, that a CNCF project that would make use of this functionality. There's a little précis as to what this repo is for. If we go to issues, and if I was to, so this is an issue that I've just logged in moments before the meeting. What happened? I tried the thing, what I expected to happen, I expected the thing to work, steps to reproduce, etc., etc. Anything else we need to know? So that's just a little bit of bug templating. If I run /help here, what happens here is that because I have a registered GitHub action to react to issue comments, I launch the GitHub action. So this is the run of that there. And we can see we have an issue comment. So this is the GitHub action that makes use of Proud GitHub Actions latest, and that's the container being pulled down there. And this is the setup for the job. Very useful if you are developing this thing developing with GitHub Actions to go through that. And then here is that custom GitHub action running. And one of the things of note in terms of implementation is that PGA, unlike Hook, is just consuming a lot of environment variables. And because this is being launched from a specific GitHub event, that event payload is consumed as an environment variable. So that will be a small difference between PGA and Hook. And then this is just the log of everything running there. So, and this will pretty much, I'm just going to pull that stuff out of the way. So if you were to comb through there, you would see that that help plugin running. So that is just a whirlwind tour of that, and just a demo of that working. Right now the container, I'm using Co to build the container and publish the container, the custom GitHub action to the GitHub container registry. I have embedded a plugins.yaml to configure the behavior, and that mirrors plugins.yaml in Hook. And the thing that I'm working on at the moment is to expose that to a project maintainer as an end user, have it somewhere possibly in a repo so that they can customize the behavior of the plugins to suit their needs. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of that as an update. So if anyone is interested, so hopefully that provides context, and I'll link into this presentation to that PR. And I think SIG-Testing and the SIG would have to have a think about whether or not they want to accept this PR, but hopefully that will provide context as to whether or not that was something that SIG-Testing were interested in taking on. If we're not, that's fine. We can work through that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be free to take them now or later, or in the Slack channel.
Cool. Yeah, any questions from folks? Also, just to make sure, are you intending to continue screen sharing or?
I'll happily stop if there's no questions. If there's questions, I was just leaving it open for questions. But if there's no questions now, that's fine. Yeah. I'll be at the KubeCon NA if anyone suddenly becomes more interested in this, or if anyone looking at this later. So just hit me up and I'll be happy to field questions or give demos in person.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think the main thing is one that we can't answer here. I'm interested in if Prow maintainers like are comfortable maintaining this additional mode of using these tools. Like basically just, you know, if there's interest in supporting this from owners. I think if there's not, then you know, it's not a lot the rest of us can do. I mean, in theory, like some of us could just approve anyhow, but
absolutely. Yeah, and that's why I try to socialize the idea. Like, I think long term, the people who are expressing interest in reviewing this as a POC are the it's tag contributor strategy group, I think. And I think the long-term vision for this is, if adopted, we try and make it a separate community thing that's community supported and community try and create a community around it. But from a strategic point of view, there's plenty to think on and chew on and debate, really. You know,
because like if it's a separate community point of view, I don't know if it needs to be like this GitHub client. Like I'm actually not recalling what it was exactly that caused us to wind up writing our own client, like instead of one of the existing client libraries, for example. I think that Prow has gotten a bit trickier as we wound up supporting use cases other than Kubernetes, but it is a thing that we're doing. Like there is code in there for interacting with like Jarrett, and you know, the Kubernetes project has no Jarrett instances. That's entirely other adjacent users. So you know, I think there's plenty of precedent for this, but it's still kind of, you know, it's up to other folks that aren't in this call.
Yeah, if I was to animalistically anthropomorphize Prow, it's almost like a product tapping away at a shell, trying to break out, you know. And yeah, absolutely. But the main reason I wanted to socialize it here was to just explain that PR and give background on that.
Well, thanks for sharing.
I think either Cole or Chow or somebody has already seen a bit of this on the Slack, but I'd be happy to point them this way for some more context and maybe part of strategizing. Because our team is definitely doing some longer term planning right now, so I'm sure that will be a fun thing to throw in as well.
Okay, cool.
Cool. All right, but yeah, I agree. Otherwise, probably need someone from the Prow team to talk more about that. Yeah. Awesome demo, thanks.
Anytime.
Cool. All right, unless anybody has any more on that, I think, Brady, did you add the next one for the flaky test PR?
That was not me. No, that wasn't.
Okay, apologies. I misread which name.
That's me over here. Let me get on screen.
Apologies. Okay,
And,
yeah, take it.
Robert, cool PR. That's some really impressive work. Great demo. Thanks.
Thank you,
PR I got up's not impressive like yours. There's a flaky test. The reason I'm trying to get the floor here is because I got to persuade people that my proposed solution is the smart way to proceed. The test is failing because of multi-arch support on a very old version of a TensorFlow test that is out. And I tried to replace it with a newer version, and even that would require a substantial amount of work. I tried to detail that work in the PR so you can see I didn't just do a shortcut to get something to turn green. The PR has been open for some time now. The punchline is stop trying to run the test on Arch 64, and I expect this thing will turn green again. And the blast radius has shrunk down to just the very small test itself. So it should be safe at this point.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more of a SIG call, but I'm free to review this. Like within SIG testing, we've been trying to push E2E tests towards like wherever possible. We're just removing all these extraneous images, and we have this one image, agnohost or something someone came up with, and it targets being multi-arch in part by just we have a Go binary that's a Swiss Army knife of like you can tell the Go binary like be an HTTP echo server or something, and we have just a bunch of subcommands for useful test things, and then we cross compile that and have like one image that works everywhere. But for like running this TensorFlow workload, I totally sympathize with like that's a much bigger lift to like rework this to be a whole new version and multi-arch and whatever. And I wouldn't be too surprised to find out that like TensorFlow doesn't necessarily support all the architectures that we technically support.
That's one
And
of
we
the
don't
items
have
in
CI with GPUs on like S390X anyhow. We don't have any CI upstream on S390X. So like same thing for most of them. ARM is one that we do have some E2E CI. I don't think any of it has GPUs though. I think we're just talking about like AWS Graviton instances in terms of like the project has the KOps subproject has run some CI with Kubernetes and KOps on ARM AWS. There's some CI that ARM and IBM run on some esoteric architectures that are platforms that like we don't actually have as like upstream infrastructure, but they like report to test grid. I don't think any of that's trying to run this. So I think it's pretty reasonable to say like like we don't have a way to actually exercise this on those platforms anyhow. So building for it is wasted energy versus just like deflaking the test. So I'm a big +1 on this, but I've also been more generally +1 on pushing on like, why is the Kubernetes project releasing for these architectures that we can't test? Whereas like, other people may disagree. I think as long as there's not any indication that like SIG node disagrees here, I'm +1 on this approach to get it deflaked. And if someone else wants to come through and upgrade it and get it working on a new multi-arch, they're welcome to, but I don't
That's
think
the
we should
deal.
block your work.
Right. It's not that it's difficult to make it work on ARMS on the ARM. It's that TensorFlow thing doesn't even work on that anymore. Whatever image was there doesn't seem available anymore. Anyway, let's not discuss it. Thanks for your discussion. That's enough said.
Well, let me just ask you real quick. Like, have you gotten any indication from any of like SIG node leads or anything on like how they feel about this?
This current version of the PR, no, it's been up for 5 days or something. I'm trying to get some attention on it at this point.
Okay, I'll lend my comments to it, but I'll hold on like merge, like pushing it to merge until we confirm that.
Right, any kind of comment is likely to help get some attention on, so
Yeah.
that'll be great. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's it for me. I just wanted a little floor time. Thanks.
Thanks. I think that was the last topic, so I'm gonna just slice something real quick. We have KubeCon next week. There is a SIG meet and greet session. I will drop a link again in the Slack. If folks are, feel comfortable helping like meet and greet people coming to learn about the SIG, we need people to sign up. I think I'm a little bit behind on the comments, but I think I'm the only one that signed up right now, and I'm also one of the only ones signed up for infra. So actually really either of those SIGs, if you will be at KubeCon and would like to help meet and greet people coming to like just like ask questions about the SIG and whatnot, there's a sign up issue, and I'm gonna go grab that link and drop it in the SIG testing Slack shortly. Anybody have anything else they want to bring up? Thanks for coming, y'all. I think we can close it early and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Yeah, thanks, Hill.
Thanks, it. Have a good day. Cheers.
Hi, everyone.
Take care.